Hello, thanks for tuning in. And in this new update for NeveN, we'll begin Chapter 10 for Vekad. Can I open my eyes? No. I can feel the wind blowing in my ears, but my impatience makes me to hope that we'll be landing soon. And now, still no. You know that if you open your eyes, you'd see where we are. You wouldn't need to ask me that, right? Even though the stag has wrapped ropes around both of us to make sure I wouldn't fall while his arms are around me and my fingers practically dug into his flesh, I'm quite incapable of making a simple gesture. Just get us to our destination in one piece, as quickly as possible, please. I don't even remember how long we've been in the air, but what I do know is that we're going much faster than if we had made a journey on par. The bandits, the guards, patrols, even the mountains themselves, none of these obstacles exist anymore. But even though I should find all this events were poetic, I have to admit that given my current path, that given my person, but even though I should find all this adventure poetic, I have to admit that given my current position, I'm having a hard time. The fang is in sight. Really? Nah, I just said that to fuck with you. Vekad, of course it's true. I have better things to do. Suddenly, the hunter coughs and spits as he loses altitude and his movements become erratic, forcing me to open my eyes. Vekad? In my panic, I barely have time to understand what's going on around me, but the stag's wing beats are getting faster. They look down below us, and the tree tops are getting dangerously close. I won't even have time to use my brand. We're going to die. Vekad! As I cling to the hunter with all my strength, I feel like I'm going to break him into two. But just as I think we're about to end up impaled on a tree, I feel myself being lifted up with such force that it takes my breath away. Then I'm transported back to the ground, but in a controlled manner this time. As we land, I watch Vekad grimacing and spitting on the ground. Are you okay? What happened? Damn. Ugh. I almost swallowed a bloody fly while answering you. Is that really the reason we almost died? Yeah, well, you're not the one who got a cherry-sized damn fucking bug in your mouth. As we both catch our breath, and Vekad struggles to untie the ropes that bind us, I can't help but burst out laughing. Am I losing it? Yes, sir, go ahead. Have a laugh. I'm not the one who was freaking out and yelling that we die. So it's a bit too much for me, all this. I think we'll forget about the whole thing, about the whole flying thing. We're not far from falsifying now, anyway. The hunter doesn't wait any longer to continue on his way, while Blank still trying to recover from my emotions. Hey, wait for me. We have to go faster than that, or the big, bad giant bird will devour the whole city. After snickering, Vekad gives me a mocking look, and I have to catch up with him to push him slightly. Save your energy instead of doing that. I can do this all day long and still have energy to spare. The stag runs his hand between my ears to ruffle my fur, and I'm about to protest, but he suddenly becomes more serious. We need to find disguise. We don't have enough stuff to cover both of us. So, do you already have a plan? Mm-hmm. We'll go through Bastards Alley, like when we left. Wouldn't it be easier to fly over the walls of the castle? Not with all the warriors guarding their walls. We get hit by an arrow or a fireball before we got past the first ramparts. But we'll run into a patrol once we're in the city anyway. And we'll get arrested, yeah. Isn't that what you want? I'd rather not end my days behind bars, assuming my dream, if this is a dream. The cat stops, and I do the same. He seems strangely worried. We can always turn back, you know. No, I think you and I both know it's too late for that. I think I'm starting to understand what you mean about your concern, your dream, all that. How so? Vekad pouts as he looks around. Then he groans. I've been sensing something lately, and the closer we get to the capital, the more it seems to be calling me. Are you hearing voices again? No, it's not that. I don't know how to explain it. All I can say is that I feel like something wants me to come here, and I'm not sure if that something is calling for me or for Kelethon's avatar. I'm not sure how to take that, but it only confirms my fears that there is something important and dangerous behind all of it. A moment of silence falls between us as I consider abandoning everything for a moment. But Vekad resumes walking, this time slowly enough that I can keep up without having to jog. You saved me. Now it's my turn to do something for you. I'm not asking you to do that. And you don't have to. It's my choice. And I'm also going for our friends. Oh, so now you consider them your friends, huh? Because they are, at least Mayborn. Whether I like it or not, you and the people in this castle are all I have. So let me help you. I can't help but smile at him as I stroke his hand before nodding. Let's go then. With renewed determination, we set off again for the capital. Even though it's not my usual habit of trying to remain silent, after all, I know that patrols are frequent around Foxfang. And yet, everything is quiet this time. We arrive without difficulty near the sewer entrance on the Defiant, guarded by 3 Africans, each bearing the emblem of the kingdom. They haven't seen us yet, and before I can go further, Vekad signals. Even though it's not my usual habit, I try to remain silent. After all, I know that patrols are frequent around Foxfang. And yet, everything is quiet this time. We arrive without difficulty near the sewer entrance on the Defiant, guarded by 3 Africans, each bearing the emblem of the kingdom. They haven't seen us yet, and before I can go any further, Vekad signals me to stop. Then he crouches down and motions for me to do the same before speaking in a low voice. I've never seen a guard posted here before. I've never seen a guard posted here before. The kingdom sometimes keeps an eye on the exit of the sewers, but it's pretty discreet when they do. Don't you think they've beefed up security since we left? Maybe, but if that's the case, it's likely to make the crime lords of Bastards Alley angry. The sound of creaking wood reaches my ears, then a cart pulled by 2 horses emerges from a thicket and approaches the sewers. The guards place wooden planks to help the vehicle pull itself into the tunnel. If a guy lets out a grunt as he frowns. What the fuck are they doing? Something strikes me as I observe the stag, and at first I can't quite put my finger on it. But when his eyes move, I realize that they now look similar to a cat's. They're bringing in weapons. This doesn't look very legal to me. I have to admit it's impressive, but I don't dare comment for fear of distracting Vekad. Either they've been paid big time or they're not really guards. What do we do then? As the hunter blinks, his eyes return to their normal shape as he turns his attention back to me. I tried to transform myself completely into another person while you were sleeping the other day, and I couldn't do it. Plus, they'll probably recognize you, so I guess the stealth option is out. But we can't kill them either, in case they're real guards. We stare at each other for several long minutes, as if we're suddenly going to come up with a plan by just looking blankly. Maybe killing them is the simplest solution. But God, what? Isn't that the kind of joke you make to lighten the mood? He's not entirely wrong about that. It's not the right time, that's all. No, we need a solution that's kind of a middle ground. I look at the arrows sticking out of Vekad's quiver for a moment. An idea suddenly pops into my head. You're going to shoot them. Huh? I thought that. I'll stop the arrows with my powers just as you release the string. Then I'll go talk to the guards. Then if they try anything suspicious, I'll release my powers. Or the arrows just fall to the ground. I know how my powers work. They'll fly as if you had shot them normally. Trust me about that. And don't stand in front of them. But are you sure you can hold 3 of them stuck at once? I think so. What if the guards move between the time I shoot and the time you get there? One of them will surely come closer to me. The others shouldn't be far behind. And what if they really are guards? You willing to risk an arrow hitting them? How will you explain it to them if they aren't hit? All I can do is shrug. I'm sure I can lure them far enough away from the arrows that it won't be a problem. Gotta be honest, your plan seems a little lame. You can come up with one too if you have a better idea. Vekad sighs deeply before knocking an arrow. This whole blooded situation is just so weird. I can't say I'm bored with you around. Then he chuckles before getting into firing position. So, my lord, shall we do a 3, 2, 1? You mean you're going to count to 1 before shooting? That's right. But do you shoot at 1 or do you shoot after, say, 1? The hunter sighs again before shaking his head. I'm serious. I've already missed a 3, 2, 1 before because of a misunderstanding before. Okay, I'll shoot at the 1. Is that all right with you? I'm more used to shooting on 1, but sure. Okay, I admit that this time it was just my desire to annoy Vekad that got the better of me, even if he doesn't seem to find it very amusing. Let's shoot after the 1, but give me time to activate my powers first. Under the hunter's jaded gaze, I sing a little song as discreetly as possible, and so I can feel the warmth of my brain against my back. Ready? Okay, 3, 2, 1. And at the precise moment, the string makes contact with the projectile. I'll freeze the arrow in time. Fortunately, the following attempts go just as well, and now we have 3 arrows aimed at the spot where I need to lead the guards. Alright, so time. Be careful. With a final wink to the stag to reassure him, I was towards the guards, not entirely sure myself that our plan would succeed. Once in the field of vision, and the 3 Africans facing me, the 2 wolves and a boar, I raised my hands in the air. But they immediately draw their weapons when they see me, so I do my best to position myself strategically in relation to the arrows shot by Vekad without appearing to be in a hurry. Don't come any closer. I have no intention of doing so. Now that I see them up close, I notice holes in their armor as if it were incomplete. I can't imagine Gileon letting that kind of oversight slip by. You're the war bard, huh? You wanted around here. Oh, well, that's perfect, because I've come to surrender. They all exchange glances and seem to relax for a moment, but they don't put their weapons away. Follow us. We'll take you to the kings. Right. Don't you want to send for Gileon instead? He said he'd be here to welcome me back. I won't ask again. That's the only peaceful option, I'm afraid. I won't surrender to anyone but the captain. Suddenly a thick layer of frost spreads from the boar's hooves in my direction, and I narrowly escape it with a leap backward. At the same time, I unleash my powers, and Vekad's arrows whistle through the air. The first one hits one of the wolves squarely in the throat, and I see him struggle not to collapse. The second ricochets off the boar's armor, leaving barely a scratch in the metal. And the last one misses the other wolf entirely, leaving me alone against the two opponents. You little bastard! Even though I'm tempted to throw a quick back at him. Well, even though I'm tempted to throw a quick back at him, I have to save my breath for now. More arrows hiss through the air, but once again they strike the most heavily armored parts of my opponents, and the wolf raises a wall of earth to protect them for the next volley. As for the boar, he presses on his onslaught, the frost on the ground turning into dangerous stalagmites that stretch straight to me. To avoid being hurt, I use my brain to freeze them in place, realizing at the same time that the boar is no longer able to control him. And after forcing on his powers, my opponent realizes it too, charging at me with his shield raised and his sword ready to strike. I barely have time to see the wolf rush towards the trees in the hope of catching Vekad before the boar is already upon me. And I release my powers to let the icy stalagmites spring up again, impaling one of the opponent's cows. While he is busy screaming in pain, I take advantage of this distraction to leap forward and slide my blade under my opponent's sword arm, piercing the underarmed part of his ribs. I put as much force as I can into it. I put as much force into it as I can into it, pressing with both hands on the hilt of my rapier to drive it in properly as I try to ignore the boar's increasingly faint cries of pain. And finally, he collapses to the ground. I stand there trembling, overcome by a strange feeling of excitement mixed with fear as I look at the corpse lying on the ground. Then my mind brings me back to reality. Vekad! Vekad! My gaze turns towards the forest, and the rustling of leaves catches my attention. The wolf's corpse is propelled with phenomenal force, landing in front of me, and Vekad follows close behind, his mouth full of blood. Fuck. Are you alright? Are you hurt? No, it was just weird. And yeah, I'm okay. Looking closer at the wolf, I noticed that part of his throat had been completely poured. Looking closer at the wolf, I noticed that part of his throat had been completely torn off. Looking closer at the wolf, I noticed that part of his throat had been completely torn apart. Did you do that? I think so, but it was more instinctive, really. The stag starts to search the African's pockets were found. So they weren't guards. I doubted their armor wasn't up to standard. Yilon would never have let them out like that. And when I offered them a peaceful solution, they of taking me, they insisted of taking me before the kings by force. I think they would have preferred to avoid bloodshed if they really were guards. Yeah, but now the question is, what the fuck were they doing here? In those uniforms? And whatever the answer is, we should hide the bodies. But with all that blood in the snow, it would take too long to cover it all up. Let's go then. There's no time to lose. I just killed another African, and yet I managed to carry on as if nothing had happened. It's a strange feeling. But Vekad doesn't seem mistaken either when he joins me. Put this on your head. It would be better if we acted. It would be better if we could avoid attracting attention. Without waiting for my response, the stag puts a piece of cloth torn from one of the corpses on my head. Unfortunately, there is no blood on it. Then I see his antlers fall off on their own before he does the same. Can you do that on command? No, it's Catherine's power. Oh. I stare at him for a moment, blinking as he sighs deeply. What? I prefer you with them. I can grow them back, you know. It's just that I can't see myself wearing a hood over them. I look like a tent. I don't know if it's my nerves again, but I can't help but chuckle if Vekad joins me before pushing me towards the sewers. Go ahead, mock me, you little shit. I'm not mocking you at all. However, once inside the tunnel, the urge to laugh is immediately stifled by the repulsive smell that pervades the place. And it's only thanks to Vekad's brand of Valeria that I managed to find my way in the dark. Come to think of it, you must be the first African I've ever met with two brands. It's not like this one is very helpful. As the glow of his powers illuminates the darkness, I notice that some corpses have been piled up here, covered in dried blood from their wounds. And we couldn't smell them until now because of all the fumes coming from the sewers, but now that we're close to them, well, at least one of them is a spy working for Simi. She's had him follow me before. No matter how hard I try to hold my breath, my curiosity pushes me to respond to what Vekad says. Who would dare to attack them in the middle of the capital? Who would dare to attack them in the capital? Who would dare to attack them in the middle of the capital? I don't know, and I don't know if I want to know. But one thing's for sure, it's either a lunatic or someone with a plan, the kind of plan that leaves a lot of dead bodies in its wake. In both cases, I think we can assume that everything we suspected until now is becoming reality. Let's hurry then. We look at each other with the same conviction that we need to act before the situation escalates, whatever that means. As the stag pulls me out of here, the foul smell of the sewers returns to my nostrils. Then the lights of the alley begin to twinkle in the distance at the bend of the tunnel. Keep your head down, and only speak if you need to. Neither of us can go unnoticed here if anyone sees our faces. Oh, and I'll hide your weapons. Understood. What strikes me first is that the alley is practically deserted by merchants and onlookers. On the other end, there are many more armed patrols of Africans who also bear the emblems of the guard. Despite that, Vekad walks forward without trying to hide, so I follow him closely, looking around me. Damn, it's going to be difficult to find an exit. But we've barely taken a few steps when one of the patrols heads towards us. The stag recoils, but I grab him by the arm before stepping in front of him. What the fuck are you still doing out here? And what's that? A bow? Come on, improvise. Improvise, quick, Eric. Oh, I know. We were looking for the exit to go hunting. I do my best to stagger like a drunk, clicking to Vekad to make it look like I could barely stand. Damn it, more drunkards. How many are there in this shithole? Curfew is on. Curfew is approaching. You have no business here. Curfew is approaching. You have no business being out here. Go back to your inn, or we'll kick your arses until you reach it. No need to tell me this twice. I pulled the stag by the arm, pretending to hesitate as if I didn't know which way to go. The guard sighs and draws his sword, pointing it in the direction of the tavern where we had stopped before leaving the capital. I hope the innkeeper doesn't recognize us. Fortunately, as we head towards the establishment, the other patrols bother us. It looks like they're also posing as guards in the eyes of the local population. Yeah, well, they're definitely Frosians, given their accent. A little further on, we see the cart filled with weapons that entered before us, now accompanied by a troop of soldiers. They was into another level, went into another tunnel, and even though curiosity is eating away at me, I stop in front of the inn. Let's follow the wolves for now. Something tells me we don't have a choice anyway. We don't even know how many of them there are. Once inside, the atmosphere is completely different from what it was during our first visit. The cheerful ambience has died down, and the moon sign is no longer flowing. On the contrary, the barrels look completely dry. And the establishment is barely half full. It's going to be difficult to stay discreet in such an environment. All eyes turn to us, and we remain there for a moment as a heavy silence fills the place. How awful they don't even have a badly performing bard to sing a few songs. I'm almost tempted to offer my talents for free, just to bring a little life back to this place. But Vekad steps forward, first to sit down at a table. I sit down across from him. The stag just stares into my eyes without saying anything, so I sit there looking awkward. So, what do we do now? We wait and listen. But before I can hear anything, a small voice next to us catches my attention. Hey you. I turn my gaze to an African addressing us, and it turns out to be an old goat blinking her bulging eyes at Vekad and me. Are you from the outside? This is the first time I've seen you here. Shit. No, of course not. We were hiding in the tunnels, that's all. Vekad does his best to hide his face, but the old lady leans towards us until she can see him. Then her smile widens. Interesting. She takes a sip from her cup, taking her time to enjoy her tea. I think you're from the outside. Not many people walk around with weapons anymore in the alley. The heavy sigh Vekad lets out as he frowns makes me think I should intervene very quickly. Let's say you're white and we are from the outside. What would you do in this situation? Oh, perhaps in more favorable times I would have sold you to the guard. Since when do the people in the alley work for the ones above, huh? Since forever, my dear, but you're too young to remember that, I suppose. Although, I do remember a time you were still full of curiosity and hope. Vekad blinks as he looks at the little lady. Oh, you're talking to me? Your face doesn't ring a bell. You have a short memory, and I've always been discreet. My name is Luana. Back in the day, I ran one of the gangs that rivaled yours. You took a thorn out of our side by ratting them out. I can see that this subject is making Vekad uncomfortable, so I intervene again. What exactly is going on here? A curfew supposedly imposed by the guard. At least that's what the civilians here believe. But between you and me, I've known the people from the outside long enough to know that it's all nonsense, and I may have some more information about them. You're right. They're not world guards. Well, we or not, there are more and more of them as the days go by. A lot of carriages full of these bandits are arriving from outside through the sewers. They quickly kick people out of their homes to move in, but they won't let us leave the alley either, so we're stuck here with them. Fortunately, they bother to supply us with food. I guess they want to avoid attracting too much attention. And what do the gangs say about their situation? I'm not sure. I retired a long time ago. Come on now, Grandma. You both know you can't retire from this kind of stuff. Warner lets out a chuckle before signing. The situation isn't helping anyone, but they're too fearful and divided to do anything about it, especially since these newcomers are executing dissidents. Do you think they'd be willing to act if we encourage them? The old lady's mischievous eyes sparkle as she takes another sip. Maybe, maybe not, but the real question is whether they'd be willing to listen to someone who betrayed his own family. They were the ones who betrayed me first. Well, that's not something you have to explain to me, not to mention that everyone here says you also killed Garrick. Yeah, that's true, and I'd do it again if I had to, because he had it coming. Maybe we could use some to meditate for us, or to mediate for us. Maybe we could use some to mediate for us. Or are we getting a little ahead of ourselves? The goal is to reach the surface, not to lead a whole revolt. And they'll realize we've been through the sewers soon enough. We don't have all the time in the world. Our new guests are guarding all access points to the surface. I doubt you'll be able to get through without causing a bit of a stir. Nah, there has to be a passage they don't know about, and even if there was, how many of them are there to keep an eye on all the exits? There weren't very many of them at first. It was just that white fox accompanied by a small group of 5 or 6 people. Then they started bringing more people from outside. Foxians? As far as I know, yes, some of them were well-known figures in our world, criminals according to the people on the surface. A lot of them are highwaymen who caused a lot of trouble for our kings. And then once there were enough of them, they started laying down the law here. Some of the gang members from the alley joined them, and that's how they learned about all the tunnels. This whole operation is much bigger than I would have thought. What would it take to incite the gangs to rebel? This whole operation is much bigger than I would have thought. What would it take it to incite the gangs to rebel? The goat shrugs and grins at me. I'll let you imagine the state of the alley dwellers after spending days eating crumbs without a drop of alcohol while the enemy sleeps in their beds. But you just said you were supplied. Yes, just enough to survive, at least before. We had the black market to get our hands on some bottles of smuggled alcohol, but they've even put a stop to that. I just sighed and stared at Vekad, who looks as lost as I do for once. Can't we just kill their leader? The fox? I haven't seen him around for a while. At first I thought he was just the quiet type, but I think he's just gone. There must be someone in charge here. It looks too organized for that not to be the case. Well, that's for you to find out, but I can help in my own way. How? I still have a few contacts in the business. Maybe if I tell you, well, maybe I'll tell them that NeveN's brand is among us. It will make them curious. This little lady knows more than she should. This little lady knows more than she should. I hope this isn't another trap. And how many gangs are left out there? Oh, the Whippers, the Bloodthirsty, the Claw Clan, the Purse Takers, the Smashing Hammer, the Fangs Lunatics, the Beheaders, plus a few minor gangs here and there. There are still about a dozen of them. Their original in their choice of names, I guess. Most of them already existed when I lived here. They like to act tough, but most of them are less dangerous than they want you to believe. Especially since their most brutal members have joined the newcomers. Strength attacks. Strength attacks. Especially since their most brutal members have joined the newcomers. Strength attracts strength. I don't know if it's a good idea to ally ourselves with criminals, Vekad. Do we really have a choice? We could just leave in. Before I can finish my sentence, the inn door bursts open and several fake guards enter, weapons in hand. Nobody move. With disconcerting speed, Vekad discards his bow and slips it under the tablecloth. Wanda, meanwhile, jumps up before quickly whispering these few words in our ears. From the east market, 3 down, 4 right, 2 up, 5 left. What the? Before I have time to ask for more, the little old lady returns her cup as if nothing had happened. The guards observe each customer one by one, and I can't help but glance nervously at Vekad before whispering. What do we do? If they really are Frosians, they'll recognize us as soon as they get close, so we wait for them to come, and then we strike. Another bloodbath awaits us. So be it. Slowly, Vekad gives me my white beard back from under the table just as the guards are busy looking elsewhere. At the same time, I whisper a few words of a song to activate my brain. Normally, I'd be shaking like a leaf, but strangely, not anymore. On the contrary, I even feel impatient for the guards to approach. And just then they approached our table at the exact same moment, as if we were in total symbiosis. Vekad and I lunge at our opponents. My blade slides under the helmet of the horse facing me and goes straight into his visor, while Vekad has developed sharp claws, with which he almost tears off the head of the guard facing him. Without hesitation, the stag lunges at the last African in the patrol as he prepares to flee. But I use my powers to block his greaves, destabilizing him. I feel sick to my stomach. I feel sick to my stomach when I realize how easy it was for us to kill these guards. Are they even soldiers? Before I can ponder this any further, Vekad picks up his bow and pulls me through the inn, under the horrified gaze of the customers. Once outside, he looks around before walking as if nothing had happened. No reinforcements. We stop running. We don't need to attract the attention of other patrols. What the fuck are we doing, Vekad? We're improvising. I can't do any better than that right now. Wouldn't it be easier to go back through the sewers and head straight for the city's gates? It would have been easier before we went in. Yeah, now I'm not so sure. Plus, if this is where the danger you saw your dream is, and the one I sense right now, do you really want to let them prepare whatever they're preparing? I guess not. Well, we don't have a choice in that case. So this whole rebellion thing, are you taking it seriously? We can at least cause some chaos, just to sneak to the surface while they're killing each other. I don't know. You and I aren't leaders, especially not if it means leading everyone straight to the slaughterhouse. I've already betrayed one gang. Do you think I'd mind betraying others? I'm protecting us above all else. It's not really in my nature to do that kind of thing. Vekad's heart rests and slowly gives way to a little more tenderness. Listen, if it bothers you, once we're up there, we can always contact the actual guard to come and clean up. We don't have to abandon them completely. But you lived on the streets, right? You told me you knew the guys like that. The big shots. Why are you suddenly feeling sorry for these people? I'm not feeling sorry for them, but for those who are going to get caught in the crossfire, there are always innocent people who suffer in this kind of situation. I just want to avoid unnecessary bloodshed. Well, we'll do our best. I meant I'm not quite sure how I suddenly went from being a deserting royal bard to the potential leader of a revolution. But I guess that's the definition of of improv. But I guess that's the definition of improvisation for Vekad. In the meantime, we need to find that bloody staircase. What are you looking for, exactly? The old goat gave us an address. Oh, I thought she was losing her mind. Nah, we're used to her, to using that kind of secret lingo to find our way around down here. It's not always easy, but you get used to it. Luckily, there are a lot fewer patrols than when we arrived. But come to think of it, I'm not even sure that's a good idea. We finally find a staircase carved into the stone, and Vekad descends into the depths after checking that I am following him, hunching his back to duck under the low ceilings. At the same time, he uses the powers of his brand to illuminate the place, but does not particularly help to make it more welcoming. I feel like I'm being crushed in the bowels of an amble as we move from one gallery to another, and I can't imagine how much more squeezed the stag must feel compared to me. Then he stops and runs his fingers over the rock, looking at it intently. Do you see anything? What am I supposed to be looking for? Engravings in the stone. The hunter's light is barely enough to help me, so I start squinting as I look at the wall, until I find several lines going in various directions. Oh, here. Vekad comes closer. Vekad comes closer and runs his fingers over each line. Looks like the assembly is moved. You really need to start being clearer in what you are saying. You really need to you really need to start being clearer in what you're saying. The Assembly of Outlaws is a place chosen by gangs to discuss and settle their differences. It's not where it was when I lived here. What does that have to do with these marks? Oh, that smuggler's language. All criminals have adopted it. It's handy for communicating without leaving too many traces for the guards. Didn't you have that kind of thing when you lived in the streets? Maybe. I never really hung out with criminals, to be honest. But if some gang members have joined the enemy, I doubt that kind of coded message is very useful. They have to find it first. They had to find it first. We barely did. You've Yana's clues. But if some gang members have joined the enemy, I doubt that kind of coded message is very useful. They have to find it first. We barely did, even with Rwanda's clues. And that's probably why they had to move the assembly. The best thing to do in situations like this is to always stay mobile, not get into a routine. Seems like your old life in crime is coming back to you little by little, huh? Either that or one of the hunters and Kelton's avatar knows about it too. Vekad continues on his way, and I follow him as closely as possible. I really hope we don't run into any guards here. I don't even know if I'd be able to draw my rapier in these conditions. After a walk that feels like we're crossing half the city's underground tunnels, going up, down, then up again, Vekad stops in front of a tunnel closed off by wooden planks and starts tearing them down. Are you sure this is the way? Unless I suddenly become shit at reading codes, this should be it. Do you think they replace the planks every time they leave? Eric, can you help me instead of asking this kind of question? I'm just curious. It's a whole new world I didn't know about. Besides, it's not like I'm going to be of much use to you anyway. Despite saying that, I do my best to pull out the planks with Vekad, and we rush into the tunnel after putting them back in place somewhat clumsily. It's only after walking a few more minutes that we reach a huge room supported by columns, the interior of which has been decorated with some banquet tables. You'd expect the place to look like a cave, but I feel like I'm in a proper underground castle. Well, who could have built all this stuff? Generations and generations of people rejected by the surface probably. This place is much older than anyone who lives here, so I don't really know. Well, I wouldn't need to be rejected to want to live here. You say that until you see the monsters that live under the mountain. Monsters? Vekad can't help but laugh at my concern. Ha ha, very fine. Sorry. 'Twas too tempting. It's a lot less funny now that I know monsters really do exist, even if they're different from the ones in children's stories. But I don't have the heart to make the stag lose his smile. A sudden noise startles me, and I move closer to Vekad, who has suddenly become much more serious. He draws his bow and aims towards the tunnel we entered through. Who goes there? Rana then appears, accompanied by 3 other Africans armed to the fangs. It's just me. I was expecting more people. Oh, but I'm only the first to arrive. Things are getting busy in the alley. It's becoming much more difficult to gather in one place. Don't mind my boys. They're only here for my safety, and they're trustworthy. But are you sure we can trust the other gangs? As long as we have a common goal, yes. They'll be smart enough not to tell their less reliable members about this meeting. Gathering everyone in one place would be the perfect trap, though. Believe me, they're just as suspicious as you, but at least their curiosity is piqued by the presence of the royal bard. But what exactly do you want from me? Well, everyone knows you have a unique brand. That kind of hope doesn't come along very Well, everyone knows you have everyone knows you have a unique brand. That kind of hope doesn't come along every day. I'm not sure my powers are impressive enough to convince anyone to go into battle. It's not me you need to convince, my boy. Before I can even think of a way to convince the gang leaders, Africans of all species are pouring in through several entrances. Strangely, most of them share the same sinister look that the street bosses I spent part of my life avoiding had. I wonder if it's a rite of passage, if they think it makes them more intimidating. And despite what I may have said to Vekad, the idea of having to help these people is starting to bother me, now that I've had time to think about it. They're the ones who mistreated me for years, the ones who are robbing the poor people, then pretended to protect. And at the same time, they're the enemies of my enemies. I guess that's what I have to keep in mind. I'm not fighting for them. That being said, the more the criminals arrive, the more impressed I am by their numbers. There must be a good 100 of them in the hall. Finally, some kind of calm settles in, and 2 Africans pull a bunch to the middle of the room. Are all the games here? No, some are missing, but we'll have to make do, I suppose. The goat then climbs onto the bench with the help of one of her guards and clears her throat before speaking. Well, it seems that those who really matter are here. Thank you for responding to my invitation so quickly, and I apologize for the rush. This old lady is not so retired after all. I guess she has their trust. If so many of them responded to her call. Yeah, and that certainly reassure us. So is the brand of NeveN. In the crowd, I see some Africans standing on their tiptoes and looking in my direction as if I were some kind of freak show. One thing at a time. First, we need to agree on a plan of action, and for that, I'd like all the gang leaders to gather around a table. I hope you didn't bring us here for nothing, you old witch. Laughter erupts, but Rana doesn't seem particularly bothered. I guess it's common to be a little shaken up in such an environment. I'll slit the throats of some of your parents for less than that, boys, so let's calm things down quickly. I can't help but glance sideways at Vekad, but everything seems perfectly normal to him. However, the audience seems to be getting more and more agitated, and they start chanting a name. NeveN, NeveN, NeveN. Damn, what am I supposed to do? If I had a brand of organ, I could put on a show, but I'm not tonight. Even if I demonstrate my powers, they probably won't find it impressive enough. But if I don't, the shouting intensifies, and this time, Warner is no longer in control. We're fucking leaving if you can't show us NeveN brand. I'm about to show them my powers, but Vekad grabs me by the shoulder and steps forward in my place. Let me try something. His body is seized by violent spasms, and I'm about to rush to his aid before realizing how dangerous it is, given the frantic twitches that are taking hold of him. The crowd falls silent and watches with expressions as pale as mine, as the cracking of bones is followed by the deformation of the body of the one I love. His muscles bulge out of his clothes until they disappear under the mask. Then his skin stretches and tears to shreds, revealing scales and fur patches of multiple colors, while his antlers grow back on the skull that serves as his head. At the same time, the one who is no longer a deer seems to grow taller to the point where the tip of his antlers almost touch the ceiling. What the fuck is this, Rana? It's a trap. She set a fucking trap for us. I told you so. That's when the criminals draw their weapons and all their brains seem to activate at once before my eyes. So I step between them and Vekad is all I can do right now. Before anything happens, the hunter's voice booms through the room. It's not really his voice anymore, but more like a beastly roar. Shut the fuck up. Silence follows once more, and all that remains in the hall are the growls of a monster that has replaced Vekad. You want to see a forgetful one's chosen? There's one right in front of you. I am the Avatar Calathon, and not so long ago, I live in the alley too. The hunter paces in front of the crowd, and each African recoils as he approaches. I know what it's like to hide like vermin, to pray to the gods every damn day, in the hope of not getting sanked. And despite that, I also know this place is a home for you. Today, that home is being invaded by an enemy. They kept you locked up here. They've kept you from seeing the light day. So are you going to act like cockroaches and hide in an even deeper hole? Because if you keep bitching over every detail, this whole bloody alley is going to collapse. And if you only are after money, you can also say goodbye to your businesses, illegal or not. Even if the people on the surface take care of the problem, even if all ends well for the alley, no one will want to do business with a bunch of ballless crime lords. So either you band together just for this time and you stand up to the invaders, or you let them walk all over you like your fucking carpets, you thank them when they spit on you. That's a strange way to give a speech, and at first the audience doesn't seem to appreciate it very much. When some Africans break away, pushing others aside to make their way through the crowd, one by one they line up in front of Rwanda until there are about 10 of them. Nobody calls me a cockroach. I ain't hiding any longer. Time to get back to business. These outsiders have been controlling our trade for too long. One after another, the gang leaders stick their weapons into the table, and I guess that's their way of saying they accept Rwanda's offer. But right now, I'm mostly worried about Vekad. Seeing him in this form makes me kind of anxious. Fortunately, he quickly returns to his original form, and for a moment I almost expect to see him naked. And I see him cover his head with his hood as I approach him, despite the fact that his antlers grew back. It does make him look like a tent. Is everything okay? Yeah, don't you worry. That was a speech, that's for sure. I didn't expect them to see reason. I hit their weak spot, their honor, and trust me, they see it differently than we do. So yeah, it probably sounded like I was insulting them. Sorry if I was vulgar. Don't apologize, your vulgarity is part of your charm, you bandit. I can't help but grin when I see his embarrassed smile before turning my gaze back to the table, now littered with blades of all kinds. And the clan leaders are already insulting each other. They shouldn't keep him waiting. Let's go. And the clan leaders are already insulting each other. We shouldn't keep him waiting. Let's go. Once again, the table, what's around the table, far from the tumult of the rest of the crowd, I'm starting to hear the swearing. No way I'm working with that son of a bitch. He killed my ex-wife. She was the one who tried to kill me first, you stupid tadpole. Take that back. I'll cut out your tongue and shove it up your arse, thorny bastard. And in the middle of it all, Rwanda just stares at the ceiling with an exasperated look on her face. As we approach the table, Vekad hits it hard, and I jump almost as much as the furniture does. Now let's cut the crap and talk like civilized people. We don't even know who the fuck you are. You think you can lay down the law here? Branded by Calathon or not, there are rules to follow. The rules you couldn't even bother to defend when outsiders came and kicked your ass. The rules you couldn't even bother to defend when the outsiders came and kicked your ass. That's easy to say. You wouldn't be so cocky if you see them, if you've seen what they did. Hey, it pains me to say it, but the tadpole's right. Those bastards came fully armored and with powers we'd never seen before, especially that shithead fox. The more I listen to them, the more I understand where Vekad's colorful language comes from. What kind of powers? If we have to face them, we need as much information as possible, and I imagine you've been looking into it for a while now. I have a few loyal men infiltrated in their militia, the ones who patrol the tunnels, but they don't let anyone from the gangs near their inner circle. They don't trust the people from the alley for that. I wouldn't trust us either. All we've seen are the saddles used by the fox, so that's at least one brand Lastra. He killed a lot of people single-handedly, but luckily he's no longer around. One of my men saw the bull who leads the guard at work, and he has a brand of Garain. He's the only one from the original group who's constantly present in the alley, as far as I know. I didn't have that information. So this new guard is entirely made up of former members of your gangs? Not only partly, the ones who are actually leading it come from outside. They've been coming little by little, and they continue to come, and they continue to arrive even to this day. How many people came from outside? I say around 200 Africans, but the influx has been accelerating in recent days. NeveN also knows that there was more activity than usual. Some of the guys who came here from outside completely isolated themselves from the rest of the alley, so there is no way to know what they are up to. But what I do know is that they didn't get as much backup as they hoped for. Word is going around that Carrick's, a bandit warlord, didn't honor their agreement and none of his warriors showed up. Vekad and I exchanged a quick glance. It seems that without knowing it, we've already eliminated part of the problem. They also brought weapons, lots of They also brought weapons, lots of them. At first, we thought it was for trade. We see that round here from time to time, but that wasn't the case. They stored everything in preparation for, I don't know what exactly. And the rest of the band that started all of it, did you have any other information about them? One after another, the crime lords shake their heads, except for the cat, who seems to hesitate for a moment. This is no time to keep secrets, my friend. It's just rumors, and I wouldn't want to spread them for nothing. I wouldn't want to spread them for nothing, given the consequences they could have. We don't have time for this kind of nonsense. The other gang leaders bang their fists on the table and start grumbling again, so the cat continues. The wisdom group was apparently caught speaking Mercadian among themselves, but nothing has been confirmed. Fucking Mercadians. Looks like another big mess is on the horizon. Fighting a few invading foreigners, why not? But I don't intend to get involved in an all-out war between two kingdoms. Don't jump to conclusions. They could very well have been using the Vekadian language to avoid their conversation falling into Frosian ears. Especially since none of them were birds, so it wouldn't make much sense to me. Let's focus on what we know. Let's say you all agree to participate. How many soldiers could we mobilize? I haven't gotten my agreement yet. Me neither. You see, that's exactly why anyone can tread on you. You can't even get your act together when it matters. Fuck off, outsider. You don't get to lecture us. Okay, this whole thing is starting to go round in circles. Listen, I'm not from your world. I don't claim to understand it, but what I do know is that you've lost control of the alley, and if we don't do something, worse things could happen. I have reasons to believe that these people who are causing you trouble want to attack the surface, and perhaps even the kings. I doubt they will succeed. There are numerous, but not enough to defeat the actual guard. Well, I don't know what their plan is, but it seems well thought out, and that's not the point anyway. I'm the royal bard. In other words, if you help us destabilize this operation, I could put in a good word for you with the kings. It may be partly a lie, but it's a good cause. It may be partly a lie. It may be partly a lie, but it's for a good cause. Help us, and I promise to make it so the people on the surface will look at you differently. Let's say I agree. I don't care about the gratitude of the people up there, but I wouldn't say no to some financial support from the kings. Vekad gives me a sidelong glance, and it's clear he's not entirely sure what I'm doing. I'll put it clearly. I could promise you all the riches of the kingdom, but you know as well as I do that the situation is complex and that I can't speak for Aeon and Lusk. I'd rather have some guarantees. My companion and I are your guarantee. Who better than the representatives of the forgetful ones to speak on your behalf to the kings? It's tempting, but I want to be sure I'm not getting myself into a bad deal. Strike first and my clan will follow you. I agree. Strength respects strength. So show us if you got guts first, and then we'll see what we can do for you. They really are that terrified, huh? Once again I exchange glances with Vekad, who doesn't seem entirely thrilled with the idea. At the same time, I think he knows as well as I do that we won't get another shot. Alright, but if I see that one of your gangs is participating, I promise you that the punishment of the gods will be the least of your worries. My threat doesn't seem to be having much effect. I hope they'll take me a little more seriously when they see me in action. Governor. Governor. Once. Governor. What's wrong? Oh, yes. Service. State.
At this very moment, children at St. Jude Children's Research Hospital.
State. Country.
Hello, kia ora, g'day. I'm Philip Duncan from Weather Watch TV on YouTube with your Australia-only weather forecast for the next week ahead. Recorded on Wednesday, November.
Awesome.
Let's kick off with the satellite map today and a fair bit of energy in the southeast corner and Western Australia. We'll start with Western Australia. Large new low pressure system getting bigger. Plenty of thunderstorms. Some of those could be severe today as this tracks further inland, coupled with daytime heating. You got a warm to hot northeasterly on the right-hand side of it, on the left-hand side of it, the colder airflow being mixed into that low-pressure zone. So there is a large dry area between the centre of the low and those thunderstorms that are further out into the deserts. but we will see a few more showers and wet weather as that low starts to drift further eastwards. It's hot and tropical around the Pilbara and the Kimberley, a few thunderstorms around the very northern edges of the top end, and similar story for the far north of Queensland. But look at the red boundary here. It has been pushed northwards, high pressure over the Great Australian Bight, expanding out, pushing it northwards, and so there is a bit of a temperature reduction for those of you around some of the central eastern parts of Australia. But the windy west to southwesterlies, they continue for those of you in the lower southeastern corner of Australia, and in fact there is a fair bit more energy coming your way about the start of next week. So let's break down what is going on at the moment. So we've got this area of high pressure. It's not overly strong. You can kind of tell by the colour shading, for those that can see it. This is more sort of yellow, the high pressure zone over central parts of Australia, whereas the anticyclone southwest of Perth has got white shading. So when you see the white shading, that's a strong high pressure zone. When it's yellow, it's only just sort of getting into high pressure. But hey, it's enough to push away the humidity in many parts of Queensland. They've been nudged further northwards. Drier skies around a large part of New South Wales and Victoria, following all the wet weather at the start of the week. But the windy westerlies, they really kick in from coastal Victoria, Bass Strait over Tassie due to that storm that is south of you, and you'll be pleased to know is tracking southwards away from you now. So those are the moving parts. Let's get into the forecast. Here we are for Thursday into the afternoon. So the low that is at the moment west of Perth will be just coming over the border into South Australia by the time we go into the afternoon, which means most of Western Australia has a fairly cool southerly or southeasterly wind. Showers, if you're in the pale blue, it won't be a lot of wet weather, but it could still be a cloudy day with passing sort of showers here and there. Heavier falls in the yellow and gold shading. Could be some severe thunderstorms in that zone, and a few of those to the western side of South Australia. Otherwise, hot, dry, northerly winds, or at least in Victoria, the ACT, the winds aren't very strong. The winds ease right back for you, and it's mainly dry, but there just might be a couple of isolated little showers around. Remember, that's a 24-hour map up to Thursday, so from today to tomorrow. So you're only talking about less than 0.2 millimetres. And a few showers on the west coast of Tassie, otherwise dry. Hot in Sydney with those northerlies building at some point, because it may be a little more nor'easter off the sea for a time, but it should swing around to the north at some point coming out of land.
My threat doesn't seem to be having much effect. I hope they'll take me a little more seriously when they see me in action. Well, I think it's time we put our strategy into action. We don't like rushing things. It's something we should be preparing for weeks, if not months. We don't exactly have a choice. They're searching the tunnels right now. As the Crown Lords resume their conversation, I move away from the table under Vekad's gaze. Should we stay? It's kind of important to listen to the strategy. Yeah, well, they'll have to give me the recap. I've heard enough already. As I take refuge in an unoccupied corner of the room and sit down on a dusty bench, the stag joins me. Don't you think this whole stuff is a bit too big for us? It is, but what can we do about it, really? Neither you nor I chose to have these brands, and I guess it's normal for others to expect more from us because of them. I don't feel special, not because of my brand anyway, but to them, we are chosen by the gods. Yeah, well, I could have done without it. I can't help but smile with tenderness in my eyes, saying, and I sigh deeply as I stare at the ceiling, lost in my thoughts. But I can see Vekad scratching his renewed antlers with some sort of nervousness. Are you going to be okay? I hope so. But I'm wondering, what's the plan exactly? It's not like we were But I'm wondering, what's the plan exactly? It's not like we're really going to follow these guys into battle, are we? Well, it's more like they will be the ones following us. And I'm not more thrilled about it than you are. And I'm no more thrilled about it than you are. So, but I wasn't thrilled to fight Curex either, and yet I did it for you and for me. It was different back there. That was about survival. Tell yourself it still is. I don't know what these people are planning to do, but if they plunge the kingdom into chaos in some way, we'll have nowhere to go. Well, we could flee to Kazal, but I have no intention of doing so, and I doubt you want that either. The jungle isn't really my thing. And silence follows between us once more, while the hubbub continues in the rest of the room. And finally, Juana joins us, her face marked by weariness. Well, we have a plan. After settling down beside me, she looks at both of us. We'll count on you to lure the fake guard to the market square, and on the way, we'll ambush them. That's your whole strategy? No, it's a little more complex than that, but you don't need to know everything in detail for it to work. Well, apart from the fact that I avoid getting too close to the enemy once they're engaged, but I'm sure you're not the hot-headed type. And what do we have to do to lure them all in? Well, apart from the fact that I'll avoid getting too close to the enemy once they're engaged, but I'm sure you're not the hot-headed type. And what do we have to do to lure them all in? Well, I suppose you'll have to take a few of them and leave them no choice but to call for reinforcements. It's risky, I understand that, but I'm afraid my colleagues won't accept anything else. It's suicidal if they don't keep their promise. Keep in mind that we are also suffering from the situation. The Anthrocans most likely to betray you are those who have already joined the enemy. We'll do it. We'll follow your plan. I can see the sideline glance Vekad is giving me, but luckily Rana has her back turned to him. We faced more dangerous situations before. We can do it. Good. We're counting on you two as much as you're counting on us. Don't forget that. Wait until we evacuate the area before going to the market. The other gang leaders have already prepared their troops with this eventuality, so they'll be quick to strike. Alright, good luck to your troops, Warner. And good luck to you boys. With one last look that's full of determination, the goat leaves. So it's decided, huh? No turning back. We can't, and you can feel it, and you can feel it as much as I do. Vekad, I'm tired of being prey, of having to run away from danger. For once, it's my choice to fight. I'm not asking you to follow me, F. Shut up. Of course I'm going to follow her. I'm not asking you to follow me, F. Shut up. Of course I'm going to follow you, you brat. It's just that I don't want to lose you. What we're about to do is dangerous. And it's dangerous to do nothing. We're facing danger anyway, so might as well face it head on. I guess you're right, but I want you to survive, whatever happens. Don't worry about it, and you better think about your survival too. I can manage on my own, be sure. Well, I can manage on my own, but sure, let's watch each other's back, alright? I guess you're right, but I want to survive, whatever happens. Don't worry about it, and you better think about your survival too. I can manage on my own, but sure. Let's watch each other's back, alright? Then the hunter quickly kisses me on the forehead before stretching and watching the last inhabitants of the alley leave. Yeah, guess it's time to go. As we step out into the tunnels, I realize that I don't even feel particularly anxious. I remember a time not so long ago when I would have trembled with fear at the mere thought of fighting. But having Vekad by my side is reassuring, especially when I see the determination in his eyes. As we surface in the alley's black market, it becomes clear that attracting the guards' attention will be a piece of cake. Several patrols are already there, weapons drawn and brands activated. Lure them near the canal. I'll take care of the rest. What the? I don't have time to add anything else before the stag dives headfirst to the stagnant water without a moment's hesitation, which is enough to attract the attention of a group of 5 guards. We really need to work on our communication. But no time to let your guard down, Eric. I draw my rapier before running towards the canal as I hear the guards running after me. Come back here. At the last moment, as the canal cuts off any sort of escape route, I turn around, weapon in hand. Come and get me, you cowards. The guards look at each other, clearly unsure whether to take me seriously or not. Then one of them, a pig, finally dares to step forward, sword in hand. We can do this without spilling blood, or with a bloodbath. It's up to you. But before I have time to do anything, a huge scaly hand reaches out of the canal and grabs the pig by the leg, dragging him underwater. And suddenly, the guards who are still alive. Anyone else want to try their luck? All of them run in the opposite direction, and I can't help but snicker before watching the cat pull himself out of the water, now in his monstrous form. I do my best to ignore the stench coming from the hunter as I address him. Next time you try that, give me a heads up. Sorry, I thought it would help make your performance a tad bit more convincing. Well, we got what we wanted anyway. In the distance, we see the guards talking to another African who in turn runs away. And progressively, at the end of the main tunnel leading to the market, the fake guards gather, forming a small army before our eyes. They are taking their time I don't have time to finish my sentence before the tunnel walls open like doors, and Africans with their faces covered in cloth come out to attack the guards with glass bottles that shatter on contact with their seals. Quickly, the soldiers start coughing and rubbing their eyes, and the gang members take advantage of the situation to approach and slide their blades into the various openings in their armor. As soon as they're done with the first line, they retreat and the walls close behind them, leaving the guards no time to respond. And after seeing this action unfold in the blink of an eye, I glance at Vekad. Are we supposed to join them? We'll go, but don't take risks. What remains of the fake guard seems completely disorganized. Some are fleeing, others are falling to the ground wounded, while those who haven't been stabbed are vomiting their guts out. Then the second wave of guards arrives, and this time the confrontation is direct. Both sides are equally poorly equipped. Rusty blades and seals made the planks nailed together on one side, guard uniforms with missing parts on the other. Suffice to say, there are many injuries. But just as the criminals seem to be gaining the upper hand, a whirring sound echoes through the tunnels, and a spinning projectile flies through the troops at high speed, striking the Africans on both sides and sending blood and guts flying everywhere. It's a halberd, and it's huge. Then it flies back straight into the hands of the one I assume to be its owner. A huge bull in full plate armor of the same quality as the prince's, encrusted with wild stone pikes. This guy, I've seen him before. He was one of the gladiators at Maidorn's birthday celebration, but he lost in the first round. Hey, it shouldn't be too difficult then, I guess. The tunnels open again, and Africans rush out to attack the bull. and before they even reach him, he strikes the ground with his hoof, causing the stone walls to collapse directly on his attackers, crushing them. Dust falls heavily from the ceiling, and Vekad looks around in panic. Fuck, he's going to collapse the whole alley if he keeps this up. As we run towards our opponent to try to stop him in his destructive frenzy, he grabs one of his fleeing soldiers by the head. Such a lack of discipline. You are not worthy of being under my command. And before our eyes, the bull uses his powers to make his halberd spin horizontally at full speed while bringing the African closer to it, placing his neck at a blade level. The captive struggles and groans, but he is unable to resist the prodigious strength displayed by the armored warrior. The Titan approaches the guard slowly enough that it takes several rotations of the weapon to slice his throat at first, then to completely decapitate him, leaving the rest of the body to collapse to the ground. Then he throws the head in our direction, and even though I can't see his face because of his helmet, I can hear in his voice that he is amused by the display of strength. Do you want to try your luck, avatars? How? Before I have time to understand, the halberd is heading towards us, so I'll block it with my powers just before it reaches us. Up close, I can see the stone set in the weapon. That's what allows him to control it from a distance. So it's true. Immediately the bull moves to the ground with his powers to propel a sword in his direction, then deftly catches it. I was trained by Mandala herself. I'm afraid it will take more than some tricks to defeat me. We don't even know who she is. Oh, well, you'll get to know her soon enough. You speak too much. I take advantage of the argument between the two of them to lean toward Vekad and whisper, attack him. I'll block his sword. I hope the surprise will be enough. The hunter lunges, and the bull reacts quickly, ready to strike the throat of the beast jumping at him. But before that happens, I duck to let the halberd spin over me, and I block the sword. And I watch and sock the stone embedded in the bull's armor come to life and forms a spike that pierces Vekad's throat. Vekad! Our opponent takes advantage of the surprise to punch the transformed stag in the head with his metal-gloved hand, sending him to the ground as the stone returns to his armor. Stop insulting me with your childish attacks. You fucker. The flesh around Vekad's wound moves as if it had a mind of its own and closes it by itself. Then the one I love breathes again, albeit with difficulty. Stay focused on the fight. Even though he had the opportunity to strike, the bull simply pulls his halberd back to him. The monster is resilient, huh? You fit right in his gallery of horrors. Screams come from behind us, and Africans rush past us to attack our opponent, but he makes his halberd spin through the air again, leaving only a bloody mist in its wake. There are far too many interruptions here. Once again he strikes the ground with his hoof, and the stone seals to form walls that enclose us alone with him. Stop doing that. The whole city is going to crash on us. I don't care about your city, or about my life for that matter. If I have to die here, so be it. Vekad struggles to his hooves, and the bull makes his halberd spin again, knowing full well that I will block it once more. Then he follows up by stabbing his hoof, and stone stalagmites form from the ground and head straight for Vekad. But the stag puts his hand on the halberd, and I know immediately what to do when I see him do it. I unblock it, and he strikes the spikes with all his strength, destroying them before they can reach him. But in turn, the bull uses his powers to pull the halberd toward him, drawing the hunter in with it. His weapon and powers are occupied elsewhere. Now it's my turn to attack. I lunge forward, drawing my rapier before striking at his wrist, the only flaw in his armor within my reach at the moment. The bull doesn't even try to dodge. He just grabs my blade between his gloved fingers and grips it with all his might. Excuse me. The bull doesn't even try to dodge. He just grabs my blade between his gloved fingers and grips it with all his might. Continue. Make me feel the thrill of battle. As he clutches the halberd to stop the bull from using it, Vekad takes the opportunity to get closer to him and tries to sink his fangs into the warrior's throat, but the stone in his armor serves to protect his neck. And some sort of mini earthquake ensues, causing the hunter and me to stumble backward. Meanwhile, the bull still stands proudly, now possessing of both my rapier and his halberd. Even though I'm starting to enjoy our sword play, I have no intention of killing you, so I'll give you this opportunity to surrender. I advise you to take it. What do you plan to do with us if you capture us? You mean when I capture you? You'll have your answer soon enough. The wall suddenly seemed to close in on us as the bull laughs. Go on, attack, faster. From where I stand, I see Vekad, skin moving as if he were transforming, and feathers appear on part of his back. And in those feathers, a brand is shining. The walls stop moving, and the bull is as surprised as I am. Then Vekad charges once more, and the bull immediately counterattacks by throwing his halberd in his direction. But instead of going straight for the stag, the weapon turns around, and the blade goes right into the visor of the warrior's helmet to graze him, causing his blood to spurt out. The bull barely has time to understand what's happening to him as Vekad grabs his arm and twists it with the sickening sound of breaking bones. As he tries to use the stone in his armor to protect himself from the beast, it forms a spike only to stop when it almost reaches the hunter. And now that Vekad is bent over, I can clearly see the brand between his feathers. A brand of Gawain. I surrender. Too fucking late for that. The beast that Vekad has become uses all of its strength to tear off the bull's arm, and I see the skin, the flesh, and then the bones being painfully torn off as the African screams. Then the halberd spins again before sinking deep into the bull's visor, finally silencing him. He returns to his normal form before collapsing to the ground. Vekad, are you okay? I think so, yeah, but I don't know what happened. I don't understand. I see him trying to get up with difficulty, so I was over to help him. And the walls finally opened up around us, ripped apart by members of the various gangs and Iwana herself. We have to get to the surface. There weren't enough of them down there for that to be their entire force. I don't know if we have the strength to do more. We don't have a choice. You said it yourself. The stag moves mindlessly towards the steps behind the bull, and I follow close behind. Then the sunlight finally hits us, almost blinding, and the din of battle echoes all around. A war between the real guard and the fake one is raging before our eyes in the streets around us. But everyone stops fighting when the mountain itself roars, and an avalanche, and it's heading straight for the city. To be continued. Hello everyone, we hope you enjoyed this chapter. If you want more information about NeveN, feel free to follow us on Twitter. We also have a Discord allowing you to chat amongst community members. Finally, if you would like to support our project, we also have a Patreon that offers you a series of benefits such as bills 2 weeks in advance, but also unique stories about the characters of NeveN. If you like the VN, please also feel free to rate us on itch.io. It will help us a lot. Once again, a big thanks to all of you, and see you soon. Alright, so there's a cliffhanger right there, with there being an avalanche coming from the mountain towards the city. Yeah, kind of hate cliffhangers like that. Anyway, You got to see Vekad use his abilities to transform into a monster and use it instead of the monster using him. He gets to use the monster. He gets to control it, and he got to demonstrate his powers and ability in front of everybody. And he basically tried to reason with them in his monster form, and that kind of intimidated these gang leaders. So there's a fake guard and the real guards fighting each other, and these fake guards might be foreigners. Could be Vekad. It may be Vekad, but maybe not. Maybe other foreigners. Alright, so they're back in the capital now, and Vekad's ability to fly helped them save time. So we'll continue with Vekad's route when the next update comes out. This will probably be in 4 months. So anyway, so Vekad, he's the last one to have a chapter 10. So I guess like once the next chapter starts, we'll begin that one with a cat. Because it seems though they always go in an order. Like a cat is the first one to get an update, then Maybjorn, then Tanaka, then finally Vekad. So that's the order they usually go through. So next month should be a cat. He should be the first one to get the new chapter. I want to say thank you all very much for watching. Goodbye.